So things that sort of press on me at the moment, sort of explain the way I view um, abuse within a family. One thing about it is that no matter how much we want, we can love somebody who cannot love. And they might have somebody who has taken their ability to do that basic thing we see away from them out of fear, uh, refusal to allow them to grow up, things like that. Drug use seems to be sort of a common topic with a lot of people. They have behavioral things going on. But if you look into the past, a lot of people who have severe, you know, addiction issues, they have those because of a messed up home life. They're not inherently always sociopathic. I mean, they can become sociopathic and they can act sociopathic, but who were they before they were traumatized so much that they didn't want to be in reality ever again? And I've done drugs, I'm not really worried about that. I've never gotten really addicted to anything, but to be honest, about a lot of people think that who have done lots of drugs. You probably were more addicted than you wanted to think. And I think I fall into that category. I think emotional and psychological abuse goes a long way. You know, you might not be physically hitting somebody, but you're hurting them more than just hitting someone. That's why when I say to people that I would rather someone scream at me and call me names than to passive aggressively do everything they can to hurt me. I don't understand why that's confusing. I don't know if I worded that correctly, but you know what I'm saying. I can have good days or bad days. It don't matter what kind of day I have. I'm going to get the exact same kind of bullshit from the exact same person. Like the second I became strong enough to overcome the reality that I have been living in, where I truly believe my mother to be, you know, essentially completely sociopathic. And she is. She has very large amounts of antisocial behavior. Uh, She has problems with cognitive thought about all kinds of stuff. And it's very obvious that she needs help. But she's living in a state of fear. For the last year, the person she's afraid of and has been for 60 years has pulled the veil back and shown me how they treat people in their personal life day to day. And because of that, I just cannot. I don't play with that. I don't do that. I can't allow myself to live in fear of anyone, period. And because of that, I'm going to stand up to whoever it is that's trying to get me to tremble with their power. I do not give a shit about somebody's personal view of how much they deserve to hurt someone. If you're getting screamed at for something you did, don't say stop screaming. Stop doing those things. You don't own somebody because they live in your house. I'm 35 years old and I can't have a 6-pack of beer once every 6 months because no liquor in the house, because my mother was an alcoholic, because she was going through this. She's been here for 13 years. It's not been good for 13 years. She had addiction issues my entire childhood. And I truly, honestly believe that's because of her childhood. There's no way that the person doing this today and treating her like that and expecting me to accept it the way my mother does was a good parent. I don't care how much people want to disagree, but the point of the matter is that when you see somebody who has damaged another person to the point where that person is at attention 24/7, you don't dismiss that, whether they be someone you love or not. It's crazy to see the way some people are treated. I get a lot of shit. I also fight a lot, generally with my mouth. Uh, that's fine, and I really do feel that that is, yes, fine. You can cuss, you can scream all you fucking want. We're adults here. Words are the way you get your point across. But one thing that you can't have is, well, that person can do whatever they want, so just stop talking about it. No, no, that's slavery. And honestly, until I'm subject to the other side of the 13th Amendment legally, I'm going to exercise my right to have rights, the exact same rights you do, or anyone else does. Everyone has the same rights. We are equals. That is part of this whole idea. I don't give a shit about nationalism. I think it's called humanity. You treat people like people. Just because you, as a person, aren't being treated like a person doesn't mean that you can't sympathize that maybe the person not treating you the way you want to be treated was not themselves taught how to treat others. I can't blame my mother when I look at the way her mother acts. I've been here a year. She's done everything she can to try to mentally torture me. She does nothing for me. She is financially abusive to both my mother and I. She is literally a tyrant. She has no respect for others, no life. She treats others like property, but of course not the ones she chooses not to, because I'm the seed of her child that she owns as a slave. That is how she treats her. I must be subject to that too. But the children of the person that she glorifies and is so great and sees in such a big manner, they get treated like they're just perfect, and you just have to accept the fact that they're better than you. My mother heard this for 60 years. You wonder why she had to be drunk to be awake in this house. Not everybody is as strong as me mentally. Most people have not been through what I've been through. Pretty much everybody hasn't. There's just a level of trauma that I've been exposed to that other people just don't get. You know, and it's not like it's a factor of how important my words are because of that. It's more like, you know, you get a whole bunch of perspective when you just go through bad things. And some bad things last a lot longer than you think they do. And generally, I see that people with severe trauma in their childhood continue to have severe trauma. We have a tendency to blame ourselves for the things that happen to us that are wrong because we've been taught that, you know, whatever abuse we dealt with as a kid, we got because we were bad kids. And we bring that into our adult lives with us. And some of us feel like we need to transfer that to other people. And that can be a form of its own psychological abuse. And sometimes people who do that transfer, they're really not the issue. They need help getting out of the situation where they feel their only recourse is what they went through. There's a Tool song uh, that I think anybody who knows Tool would understand the reference, do unto others as others have done to you. You know, That is sadly the reality of human nature. We don't want to heal. Some of us are afraid to get better, and we might think that we've done everything we can to get over being a victim, and we start standing up for ourselves. Then we delude ourselves into thinking that standing up for ourselves means perpetuating the victimization that we went through. I do not mind screaming and cussing at anyone, especially when it's legitimate. I don't give a shit about the way people want to phrase it. Doesn't matter if you're screaming at your mother, your grandmother, your uncle. If they are doing something fucked up, uh, don't just stand there and be like, no, it's totally fine. That's this person to me. So I excuse their actions. You should just stop worrying about it. They're going to do what they want to anyway. No, I don't play that shit. I have been through way too much in 35 years to literally sit back and have somebody else ask me, what part of my reality should I give up based on the way people decide? I don't deserve that. Like, have I not had the last 35 years to learn how to respect myself? Then why doesn't it matter that in 35 years I've learned to overcome that? Why not praise that instead of expecting me to have to overcome your bullshit too? Some people revel in the idea that they go from the victim to the victimizer. And those people spend the entirety of the rest of their lives doing everything in their power to fill a hole that they never filled with hate, that they are just piling on in, never filling their hole, and filling the hole with completely unneeded anger that never goes away on their part, and making somebody else feel like they will never be able to get out of that exact same situation. And I really don't care about the excuses of the situation. If you're perpetrating a action that's just not normal, I don't care why you're doing it. Don't do it. You don't murder no matter who is in your house, like, why is it questionable that you don't abuse people? Even if this is your house, don't abuse your family. Point blank. Yeah, sure, it's your house. But don't murder your family? Like, where does the logic stop? Just like with the PETA thing, where's your line? Mine's just after the sign. Like, I'll eat anything. And it seems that that same mentality is just used with abuse and allowing people to traumatize each other, because that's somebody who's an elder to them. They have free reign. And if I had free reign because of how much older I am than other people in my family, my first thought would never be to abuse them for the fuck of it, because I've been through enough abuse not to want to see it anymore. But apparently other people do not see things like that, because other people never came out of the struggle. They decided to go right back into it and just go right back to doing what someone did to them. If you don't want to live like that, you have to take the opportunity to get away from it. In my situation, I'm disabled. I can't physically walk away. I can't defend myself, no matter how much I get mad at my mother. I will never forget that the reason she goes through what she goes through with me, and she has the stress that she has that is crippling to her, is fear of her own mother, who is financially and psychologically abusing her, and has been for 60 years. I've been here a year, and I feel like I want to shoot myself. I mean, not literally, But, it's just, it's game over with this shit. I'm not playing it. So, you know, considering that I have a lot of empathy, I mean, more than it would seem, I just couldn't imagine what it'd be like for somebody to go through 60 years of this who already had a flawed view of reality, who already had cognitive issues. They were antisocial, but not to this degree. And you sort of realize, like, maybe it's not as simple as the person hurting you as the one who made them hurt. We want to assume that drug addicts just deserve what they get because they chose to do the drug. 100%. If you know somebody addicted to something, you know somebody who has a family that has abused them. Don't perpetrate hate, no matter who tells you to do so. If that person's 80 years old telling you that you can't do anything because they own you, then remind them that since the day they've been alive, slavery has been illegal. And she, or he, is not a state or a federal government. And they should learn how to fucking read and go to the Constitution and just, 13th Amendment, sort of take that in, and then come back and tell me why I should be subservient to somebody who's related to me. She's been walking back and forth in front of the bathroom. So, she tries to catch me. And of course she does. I don't give a shit. She can hear anything I say. I'm like her, I don't have anything to fucking hide. So, if you pray for me. If you don't for me. I'm going to just stop giving all this my mental space. This is my statement on it. This is all I have to say about it. And, yeah, she's going to hurt me and make me mad and make me very upset over and over and over again. No matter how many times she does that, the records it when I scream back at her. It's not going to change that my mother is also being victimized, and that even though I will be mad at my mother because she will act the way my grandma does sometimes, my grandma's still victimizing my mother. So my goal is to either help myself or help myself and my mother. And I could be as mad as my mother as I want to be. When I see someone else being abused, especially when it's to a level that is just anxiety inducing for me after a year, I'm going to try to help her. It's just unfortunate that not everybody knows what people go through because people don't talk about domestic abuse. Women can hurt men. Men can hurt women. People can hurt people. Don't allow it just because you think it's okay, because where they're at. Like, we're in a city. There's laws. You're playing a victim because you're an old lady. That's not exactly not showing what abuse you put people through. Like, is somebody screaming at you all the time and you have record of them screaming? Why don't you have record of them, like, having the reason to fucking scream? There's somebody like me who is fairly fucking down to earth with shit, is screaming at someone constantly. Maybe you should wonder what it would take for you to do the exact same shit. Like, what disrespect would it take for you to scream at somebody that plays a victim and acts like you're just calling them and abusing them all the time, makes little scenes in public, and goes around taking pictures of bruises and saying that you hit them and all this shit, which of course I definitely did smack my mom once with a fucking back scratcher, but she did some really fucked up shit to me that day, and I don't feel good about it. But then again, all this other abuse seems to be totally okay. So If abuse is okay, then it sounds like I have a free scoop, but I don't, and I don't feel proud of that moment. But at the other hand, um, I think I'm the only person in this house that feels pride in doing what's right. But I believe I could possibly teach my mother how to feel that way too. Unfortunately, I take a lot of the stress out on her, just like she takes it out on me from somebody who's emotionally and financially abusing both of us. Just because somebody has the ability to take the top, like when they go to those Japanese game shows and stuff, and they make it look so easy to get to the top of the tree and get the little thing. If that's the way your life is emotionally, it's a fairly good sign your life sucks. If you just want to live in a shitty life, that itself is a mental issue. Like if you want to revel in the anger you feel, that's a fucked up reality. If you don't, it's still a fucked up reality. You're dealing with too much anger. Some people don't get treated this way. But to be honest, a lot of people do. It ain't about me. I mean, I'm stuck in a fucking bed. Like, I've been through enough shit to not really worry about a lot of the things going on. But knowing that there's only a certain amount of time this earth left with my loved ones, God forbid any of us get hurt in any way, other than the fact that I've already been hurt in any way, when you see someone drowning and you go to help them, then you start drowning, you got to bring yourself back to the shore no matter who you have to leave out there. Well, what if that person you saw drowning was helping somebody else who was drowning, and the bottom where that first person drowning was, they're just not there. They're still trying to help them. And you pull that second person away you saw drowning, and you both get back alive. That person down there drowning that you didn't know existed is still down there dead. So when you cut losses, you got to cut losses. Sometimes cutting losses means taking somebody who spent 60 years of their life in Stockholm syndrome, and showing them that that's not the way other people live. Let's see what part of this ends up getting thrown at me tomorrow, because of course she's completely deaf when I need water. She's got great hearing when I'm talking shit about her. Man, I wish my legs worked whenever I wasn't being watched.